Welcome to Vida Las Vegas Podcast. We're two physical therapists living the life in Las Vegas. I'm Dr. Erica.
And I'm Dr. Joe. We created this podcast for two reasons. First, to connect the healthcare, wellness, and fitness communities in Las Vegas. And second, to highlight all the amazing people we've met along the way.
Thank you for listening, and remember to take care of yourself.
Today we chat with Haley Ott. She's an occupational therapist who specializes in neurological conditions. She works with people who sustain strokes or brain injuries through Nevada Community Enrichment Program. We chat about how diet plays a role in the patients she treats and her favorite kind of sushi. Since moving to Las Vegas, she has become an avid hiker, rock climber, off-roader, and stargazer.
Welcome to Vida Las Vegas Podcast, Haley. We are so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me, guys.
All right, we'll start off. Why did you choose Las Vegas?
So I don't have like a great story as why I chose Las Vegas, but I had lived in the Midwest my entire life. Growing up, high school, college, grad school even. And so when I graduated, I'm like, I want something different. I didn't really care where I went. I applied for jobs out west, in the south, out east, and I ended up getting a job in Las Vegas. And to tell you the truth, I wasn't really excited about Las Vegas. I'm like, gambling, drinking, I don't know if I'm going to love it. But I was like, you know what? This is a great opportunity. The job was great. So I'm like, I'll take the job and maybe stay there 2 years and go back to the Midwest. But here I am 4 years later, still here, and now love it. I love Las Vegas.
Tell us a little bit about your first living situation. I feel like you have an interesting story about that.
Yeah, so how I found the place I'm living. I actually found it on Craigslist. I did not tell my parents. They were very concerned about where are you going to live? What are you going to do? I'm like, don't worry, Mom and Dad, I got it. So I posted an ad on Craigslist with my picture because I'm like, I don't know, it's better to post a picture so people know who you're talking to.
Just honesty.
Yeah.
Good.
So I posted a picture and I got lots of very weird people reaching out to me, and I'm like, okay, ignore that. But one guy reached out to me and was like, hey, I have a house. I think it's what you're looking for. At first, I didn't respond because I'm like, a house, I don't need a big 3-bedroom house for myself. But he reached out again, and I decided, okay, maybe it's something that is worth looking into. So I got on the phone with him, and, he was like, okay, this is our moment. You have to trust me. I have to trust you. I stalked you on Facebook, and here's my information. You can check me out too. But if you want to rent my house, I'm open to it. I got good vibes, so I sent him over money without seeing the house, without anything. I just sent him money. I drove to Vegas with my little car full of stuff, and I was like, man, if I get there and I don't have a house, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I got there and I got the keys. The code worked. I got in, and now I'm great friends with my landlord. He's awesome. When he comes to town with his wife and family, we get drinks, we go out. So it worked out great. Craigslist. It worked out.
I'm not sure if everyone has that same luck through Craigslist.
I don't think so. I was nervous, but I trusted my gut.
Yeah, we had a similar situation. We found our roommates through Craigslist as well. I feel like a lot of people in Vegas, when you talk to them, well, how did you come out here? What's your living situation? They're like, all right, well, here's the story. And then they have to tell you something that happened. You're like, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I feel like it's a Vegas thing. There are weird stories with Vegas.
Mm-hmm. Have you used Craigslist before to find places to live?
No, because I always lived in the Midwest, and I always knew someone or went through housing through school. So it was my first time venturing out to using Craigslist, and it worked out.
I've had pretty good luck actually with Craigslist. So when I was an undergrad, I had a roommate. He just lived with us for the summer, but we still talk because we're still good friends. From now, whenever I go up to Seattle where he lives now, we go and have dinner and hang out. So
it can be great.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you normally do to spend your time here in Vegas? Because I know everyone's all about the Strip, but part of the reason why we're having people on the podcast and asking what they do is there are tons of things to do that are outside of it that are very entertaining and people don't even know it exists.
Absolutely. So moving out to Vegas, like everyone thinks, I'm like the Strip, right? That's going to bars, going out to eat, great food. But I found out very quickly that hiking and the outdoors, you are so close to so many different places. Living here at first, I found Mount Charleston, I found Valley of Fire, I found Red Rock, and those three are within an hour drive of Vegas. So my first couple years, I explored those areas, did hiking, and after being here a while, I found Southern Utah, which is beautiful, and there are so many places to explore, and also like Death Valley, Afton Canyon area in California. And most recently, I got into rock climbing, so I feel like that's a whole nother level of outdoor adventure. So you can go and hike, and then you can climb, and then you continue hiking. So I feel like rock climbing and hiking are some things I've discovered living in Vegas that I didn't know existed.
And this is your first time rock climbing when you out here?
Oh, yeah. I mean, even hiking, I didn't really do in the Midwest. There's just not a lot of it. I feel like you walk around lakes and stuff, but really like climbing mountains and with some real elevation gain, this was the first time I really got exposed to that.
And not a lot of climbing in the Midwest.
No, none that I know of, actually, but I have no idea. I haven't really looked into it. It's pretty flat.
I've heard that there's some in Michigan, but it's very small. Like it's not like it's a mecca.
Right. I was gonna say Vegas is like a mecca. You're within the 4-hour range. You can climb and climb and climb.
And somebody was telling me the other day that there's like a lifetime's worth of climbing just in Red Rock alone. Like
really?
You could do a different like route, and it would like take you years.
I
for
believe
how many
that.
different spots there are.
Yeah, and even we recently discovered Mount Potosi, and there's a lot of unknown, unmarked rock climbing there, like with bolts and anchors, and so that's been fun. And that's 40 minutes from my house, so we can go after work, or it's a quick trip.
Didn't you recently do a rock climbing excursion with some of the patient population you work with as well?
Yeah, so I work in a brain injury clinic, and we had the opportunity to take them indoor rock climbing. And it was awesome. A lot of these people have never been rock climbing, and that's something that they didn't think that they could do. So getting them up on the rock and having them reach and step was really empowering for them, and the smiles on their face and how much fun they were having, it was awesome.
Tell us a little bit more about who you see, on your day-to-day basis.
So yeah, I work for Nevada Community Enrichment Program, short for NCEP, and it's a comprehensive day program for people with brain injuries. So they don't live there. It's an outpatient clinic. They are either shuttled there via like public transportation, RTC, or their family members, and they come 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, from 9 to 3. And in that day, there's an occupational therapy department, speech therapy department, and physical therapy department. So we do individual treatments and group treatments, which I feel like is kind of unique. And they have 5 hours of constant therapy a day with a break for lunch. We also do a lot of community outings. So we take them rock climbing, we take them to the grocery store, we've taken them bowling. So it's a lot of community integration along with your, regular rehab that you would think of in a brain injury clinic. So we use eStim. We have technology like the MyoMo, which, are you guys familiar with that?
No.
It's basically like, it's kind of like a biofeedback electrical stimulation, and it's an exoskeleton of the arm, and they kind of slip it on. Or what we do is just like leave it on the table for more of a visual impact. And you put the electrodes if you're working on the flexors or the extensors, or you can do both. But we normally try to target one. And they try to get their arm up. And when they reach a specific threshold, then that exoskeleton moves. So eventually, when we have it on the table, it's more of a visual feedback for them. Like they move their arm a little bit, making that move the full way. And eventually what we do is we get them in there and they can use their arm functionally. So if they can get it up a little bit, the MyoMo will get them up the rest of the way. It's a really cool thing. We use a lot of evidence-based practice at our practice.
That's awesome. What particular, if you can think of a story or thing that you do on a daily basis that has like the most impact on you?
So I can specifically think of a younger client that we have. She's in her 20s, she's got kids, and she suffered a stroke. And she has some really tight flexor synergy. Like when you try to break it, like it is tough. So what we did with her is hooked her up with a personal e-stim machine. So we put them on her extensors and flexors and taught her how to use it. So her arm and hand will open when she does it. And we took her to like a vending machine and we gave her coins, and she was able to use the e-stim, put in the coins, like push the buttons that she wanted for her food, and get food, like a little treat for her kids. And seeing that, and everyone was crying because her arm is totally not functional otherwise. But because we got her this personal e-stim machine, she's able to use it, practice it at home, and be functional and do things with her kids too. So that was great.
That's awesome. Is she still with the program? How long do people typically work with you?
It's really insurance based. A lot of times we don't get them for as long as we want, but I would say typical length of stay, it's a little bit longer than usual, maybe 2 months up to a year. We've had patients for 2 years even, but it's really dependent on the insurance.
And then what about during the holidays? Are there like certain schedules of like any breaks in between that time? Or
so we do take off for holidays, but otherwise it's just business as usual, right? If Christmas lands on a Friday, then we're off Friday but back on Monday. And of course we're going to have like the attendance will be less during the holidays because people travel and stuff, but our program works right through that.
That's pretty good. What made you decide for that path?
I first started working at Encompass as an occupational therapist, and it was a great learning environment, and I felt like I was being exposed to a lot of different diagnoses, but I just felt like mediocre at everything. I'm like, I can treat these patients and I'm doing a great job, but I kind of want to specialize in something and be really knowledgeable about one topic. So an opportunity opened up about 2 years ago for a part-time job at this Nevada Community Enrichment Program. And I'm like, I love the neuro population. I think you can see a lot of improvement. I think they're super motivated. And I love to see the progress. So I got the opportunity, and I thought I knew a lot about brain injuries. I'm like, give me a stroke patient, I can treat them. But working exclusively with them, you learn there's a lot more that you can do with them than just your, regular weight bearing or things like that. So I feel like I've learned a lot about that population and how to treat them specifically.
What is typically your age range that you treat?
So we see a lot of younger people. I mean, I've seen people from 18 years old up to, because we also treat people who have been in motor vehicle accidents, TBIs, all the way up to older. So there's really no specific age range. I see it all.
Just to clarify, what's a TBI?
Traumatic brain injury.
just to be clear on what that is.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, like, you hear a lot of different people's stories with whether it's a motor vehicle accident or some type of stroke. What have you noticed I guess they're in the mindset that it goes with whatever trauma that people are going through, because this is after the fact after they're going through, if they had rehab
mm-hmm.
or, had been in the hospital for a little bit, had a rehab, and now they're at home typically, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So have you noticed, I guess, if you've worked with someone for a few months versus a year, what have you noticed about their overall demeanor or, attitude or mentality that has it changed? Has it not?
Yeah, I think being in our program, people really empower one another, because when you're in rehab or in a hospital, it's very just you and the therapist, right? In our program, there's a lot of groups, and in your downtime, you're with all of these people that have different brain injuries. Some people can't walk, other people can. And so seeing each other and building each other up is really important. And we have a group specifically, we call it a goals group, and we go around the room and we say a goal that we want to achieve the following week. And the following week, we go over that goal and say, okay, I want to be able to stand for 10 seconds without holding on to the parallel bars. And that person will go and do it, and everyone's cheering them on and making them feel good about doing it. So I think having that camaraderie is really important, and seeing other people build you up can really improve your demeanor and motivate them.
So is it inpatient and outpatient there?
So no, it's all outpatient. However, we do have like a group home called the Hastings House. So people who qualify there, I think it's an 8-bed house. They can go there, and they have a bus that takes them to the clinic. But yeah, all outpatient, I would consider it. They're not staying on the clinic property.
And for as far as transportation goes, there's some people in like wheelchairs, and some people are walking.
Yep, runs the gamut. We've got people that have power wheelchairs, manual wheelchairs, walking in, everything.
So I guess as a therapist, that can be challenging too, because you see if you have that range of capabilities, what is it as a therapist? What are you trying to do to help the entire group?
Yeah, so when we develop our schedule, we try to break it down into like a higher level group and a lower level group. So we'll have an upper extremity group with lower level. So maybe we're working on the tone with the lower level, but with the higher level, we're working on higher repetition, that more fine motor, picking up objects. And same goes with PT and speech. We really try to divide so that the clients have the most potential in that group. And it's not too hard. It's not too easy. We kind of grade as we go.
So what advice would you give someone that's a student right now, or someone that's a prospecting student and they're thinking about taking a path like that? Like what recommendations would you give them? Like, is there something that they can go to learn more about it? Should they shadow more? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we love taking students at NCEP. If you want to shadow, if you want to check out what we're all about, I think it's the epitome of occupational therapy there. We're doing function, we're going out to the community. It's an awesome environment to learn, and I think to get you really excited about therapy. I love it. Every student that has gone through it, they're excited to learn. They're eager to do something like that and be great occupational therapists.
All right. What is something you commonly see in your practice that you wish more people knew? So to give you a little framework, working with a stroke or like a TBI or a brain injury, typically see people who front dive and they hit their head, or they don't wear the seatbelts. But just give us kind of your thoughts about something that you wish more people would know.
So specifically with the clients that we see, I think the number one thing that I wish they would understand more, and the extreme importance of it, is nutrition. A lot of people come in and we ask them like what they like to eat, and it's cereal and chicken nuggets, and no, I don't like vegetables, soda. And I think that plays a really significant role in their lifestyle and their health. And I don't think they quite know what is healthy and what is unhealthy. So we do a lot of groups that focus on how to cook healthy. We actually have a Top Chef competition that we do where they are divided into teams. It's all voluntary. They're not forced to do the group. We go around and ask them. And they're divided into 2 different teams, and we have a topic. So whether it be like Mexican food or a staple food like asparagus, somehow you have to make that like the main dish, something with asparagus. We have them research it. They have a budget that they have to stay underneath so that we go on Walmart.com and we put everything in the shopping cart and we print the list for them. And then the following day we go to the grocery store. They have to get everything. And then the following day, they cook, and they're on teams. And it's something that we focus on being healthy. And we actually have judges that taste it. And they're not only judged on the taste of their food, but how they work together as a team and how different people use their affected side. It's really fun, and they love it. And I think it kind of encompasses like the whole process of learning something healthy, making the list, staying under budget, working with a team, and making food.
How did the asparagus taste?
Honestly, they always make great food. I'm like, it's amazing what they can come up with, and sometimes I need a little help with the direction, but overall they do such a good job.
What were the different types of asparagus or like flavors that give people a good idea of some asparagus recipes?
I mean, some people did like a casserole type of thing. Other people used like the bacon in there, and so it kind of ranged the gamut, but they did a good job.
So we talk about, health and nutrition typically, and we talk about our 5 pillars of health, and that's what we kind of base our principles on. 1 being how you're sleeping, 2 being how's your nutrition, 3 how's your physical activity, 4 how's your relationships, and 5 how your stress management is. And that's something we tend to focus on with our personal clients too. So it's nice to be able to hear kind of as a whole that's something that's being addressed. Mm-hmm. And when we work with our clients, that's something that is just non-negotiable. If you don't have those 5 things intact, there's something that's going to be, in a sense, imbalanced.
And I think that's great that you guys incorporate that, because I think a lot of times in healthcare, we kind of lose that holistic approach. We're just treating the physical disability. We're not looking at how they're sleeping, their family environment and who's supporting them. So I think that's awesome to hear that that's the 5 pillars of your practice.
Definitely.
So having talked about the food there, what's your favorite cheat meal?
So my favorite cheat meal is all-you-can-eat sushi. I feel like I gorge on all-you-can-eat sushi where I'm like rolling out the door in pain. And I honestly, I feel like it's one of the healthier cheat meals I could have, but I just eat so much of it that it is not healthy. I love it though.
What's your strategy for if you're going to go eat at an all-you-can-eat sushi place?
Strategy is place a big order right away, because I don't want to wait. And then like I kind of get full. I'm like, crap, I ordered more now, but it's not here. So I order like all the sushi up front. I know what I can eat. And if I'm still hungry after that, then I go round 2.
I use a similar strategy for if you go to a buffet. What I do is the first plate is a test plate. So I'll go get that, and then I'll go, and then the things that look like they're going to be pretty good, I'll go get just a little bit of it, and then on the plate. So I'll have a bunch of different things, a huge variety, and then the ones that I like, I go hit those hard for like plates 2 and 3.
I like that.
Possibly 4.
Do you like the more of like the sushi or sashimi or nigiri or rolls?
Nigiri all the way. I prefer the fish with the rice and simple soy sauce, and that's my favorite. I do love a good lemon roll though, so salmon with some lemon. If I do get a roll, that's what I'll get.
Oh, and the lemon is just like placed on there with cooked or?
Nope, it's just lemon with the rind and everything, and just eat it with the salmon and the rice. So good.
Huh. Sounds delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad. So is there...
So what is something that you've been working on professionally, personally, mentally? It doesn't have to be, all of them, just something that you're excited about that you're working on.
I think something professionally that I'm working on is being more comfortable treating vestibular ocular problems, or even just vision issues, because I feel like in school we just touched upon them, and working in rehab, my first job, I kind of overlooked that. And coming to a brain injury clinic, I really see the impact that the eyes and the ears and balance, how that plays a big role into it. So I'm trying to be more educated, because that is such a big part of the stroke recovery. So I think that's one thing I'm really trying to educate myself on and become more familiar with.
What's something that you see, like with vision, like we tend to, forget like how much we rely on our vision, as just individuals, like that's what we typically look at. But as someone who has a brain injury or a stroke, what happens to them? Like what kind of things do you see that, makes it more difficult for them to recover?
So some typical things that I see are some psychotic intrusion. So when you're doing, like the H kind of pattern or even side to side, having them just focus on one point, their eyes kind of wiggle. Like they're not a smooth pursuit. It's jumpy, and that can mess with their balance. So I see that. I see people who don't converge very well. So when I bring an object closer to their eyes, one eye's going in and the other one's not going with them. And those are all things that I've recently found out when I worked in a brain injury clinic the past 2 years, something that I'm not as familiar with, but learning more about it.
So what's something that you've learned after you've had all this experience, but it's something that you wish you knew sooner?
So something more general that I wish I knew sooner was how amazing the West is. Like, I never really knew how great it was out here. I'm like, oh, I love Wisconsin. I love the Midwest. Everything's so green and beautiful and, laid back. But coming out here and seeing all the different landscapes and all the different activities that you can get involved with, like mountain climbing, rock climbing, hiking, scuba diving, so many different things and so many different opportunities. I wish I would have knew that sooner. So maybe I wouldn't have been stuck in the Midwest for so long. But I'm glad I came out here now and I'm exploring, especially, the rock climbing and the hiking and all the different landscapes.
Well, you've traveled quite a bit as well prior to COVID. Tell us a little bit about some of your recent travels.
So I think most recently I've been to South America and the Philippines, and both beautiful countries. I love them so much. But, they're a lot of money to travel, and I think there's so much you can see in the U.S. that in road trip and go see that I kind of want to see what else the West has to offer. Not to say I won't travel to other countries, but I think if you're on a budget, there's so many beautiful places to see here that I'm going to keep exploring out here, and maybe once every couple of years go somewhere else to a different country.
You guys, because you went to Chile, Argentina,
Chile.
And
just Chile this time. But my boyfriend and I, when we go next time, we want to spend at least a week in Peru. I think that would be fun.
I've always heard good things about it, but haven't been yet. Okay. And what would you want to leave listeners with?
I think the one thing I want to leave listeners with, maybe it's kind of cliche, but it's never too late to change your lifestyle and make a change to be healthy. And it doesn't always have to be a big change, but just simple things, drinking more water or cutting out soda or trying to eat more healthy. I think it's never too late.
I've noticed that out here, especially being in the desert, that a lot of the patients we talk to, a lot of people just don't drink water.
Yeah.
And you live in the middle of the desert. And they're like, I don't really like water that much.
I think because you don't sweat as much that you're just like...
Since I have the AC on, you don't need the water as much, maybe.
Yeah.
All right, Haley. Well, thank you so much for coming on. How can listeners find you?
You can find me on my email. It is hkott, OTT, 09@gmail.com.
So thanks for being on our show, Haley. We really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun, and it was really interesting to learn about the different settings that OT has to offer. I had no idea there was such a neural involvement with that.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me.
Mm-hmm. We appreciate it. We'd like to thank you for listening to La Vida Las Vegas Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the time with our guests as much as we did. It would help us out so much if you could share, subscribe, or review our podcast, or any combination of the three. Thanks again, and remember to take care of yourself.